Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
8-7, you are tuned into WMAL, Brian and Brian in the morning. And we are honored to have the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia on the line as we speak. You know, it's Super Tuesday in Virginia, and people are going to the polls to check one of two boxes. Governor Bob McDonnell is with us. Hello, Governor. How are you?
Hey, Brian and Brian. Good morning.
You know, I think there are people, even though, you know, Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich didn't follow the rules and regulations to get on the ballot, I think a lot of people in the state of Virginia, Commonwealth of Virginia, very upset that they don't have the opportunity to vote for either of those guys, and they wish they had other choices. What do you say to those people?
Well, I wish we did, too. I wish all four of the candidates were on the ballot. It would create more of a voter turnout. It would be the full lineup of Republican options for people to come out and choose between here in Virginia, and I really wish we had the full slate. Unfortunately, Virginia does have a fairly high bar, 10,000 valid signatures, and two of the candidates didn't make it. You've got to have the organization and the ground game if you want to be president of the United States, and that means being able to get the signatures in the state. So
do we need to change that?
I'm disappointed as well, but that's the rules.
Do we need to change that, and do we need to think about maybe allowing for write-in votes in a primary?
No, I think we just need to make sure. I mean, listen, I've been through it twice myself, and we got 15, 16, 17,000 signatures, so we weren't even close to the numbers. We had enough valid signatures, and no other state candidate that I recall in the 20 years I've been in office has had a problem. I think, as both the other candidates who didn't qualify basically admitted later on, they just weren't that organized. So I don't think it's necessarily the rules. There were a couple bills put in this year to try to reduce that threshold, and they were all killed in the legislature. So I think it's just a matter of candidates. If you want to be president of the United States, you ought to be able to get 10,000 signatures in Virginia.
All right, now you're supporting Mitt Romney, is that correct?
I am.
And yesterday the lieutenant governor came on pretty strong saying he's the only guy who can beat Barack Obama. Do you agree with that?
I do. Mitt Romney's got the best appeal to independent voters, and independent voters, as I found out when I won the governorship 2 years ago, really control the outcome of the elections. But it's really more than that, Brian. I think when you look at what's going on in Washington, where we've got I really believe a lack of leadership on key issues. There's a lot of blame and rhetoric, but not much in the way of results. Mitt Romney's proven to be a leader throughout his career, but more importantly on the two major other issues, which is getting control of the debt and the deficit, and also creating jobs. Mitt Romney's got a great record. He created over 100,000 jobs in the private sector through his work at Bain Capital, and as governor of Massachusetts, cut taxes 19 times, $3 billion budget deficit eliminated. And so that's the kind of can-do, results-oriented leadership that I think we need in Washington right now.
But you, like Governor Bowen, though, believe that Rick Santorum could not win, or Newt Gingrich could not beat Barack Obama in the general election?
Well, I don't want to say that, because I think all four of the candidates in the Republican team would be better candidates or better presidents in terms of leadership and getting results and fixing the budget and creating jobs than what we're seeing with the current administration. So I just think right now Mitt Romney's got the best chance to be able to win because of his appeal to independent voters, and the fact that he's just a common-sense, results-oriented conservative. He's about fixing problems, getting things done. That's the same thing that we've been trying to do here in Richmond.
There's been a lot of talk recently on social issues, and it all stems from contraception, and then there was the big debate over the abortion bill in Virginia. Do you think too much attention has been made on social issues in the presidential race?
Well, perhaps too much attention by the media, but I can certainly say when I listen to the candidates, what most of them are talking about, particularly Mitt Romney, and I see what we're talking about here in Richmond, we're talking about kitchen table issues, jobs, schools, economic development, colleges, veterans, transportation. But, sometimes the media decides they want to focus on one or two issues, and I think that has probably tainted it a little bit. But I will say this, Brian, I think values do matter. Character does count where you stand on issues like life and family and marriage and religious freedom, the Second Amendment. These are issues that people want to know about, but overwhelmingly this election is going to be decided on issues like jobs, taxes, spending, debt, deficit. That's really what's motivating people to vote.
Well, you say that the media focuses much on social issues, but I mean that discussion you had in the state of Virginia over the sonogram law, that was a big story that needed to be covered, and I guess a lot of people just wonder, is that where we ought to be right now, or as you suggest, should we really be focusing on other things?
Well, I can only tell you in Virginia, we are poised to be one of 23 states that have an ultrasound bill, and that bill was one of over 1,000 bills that have passed up here, and I have a very bold agenda on job creation,
right,
economic development, transportation, higher ed. A lot of this is moving on very well, passing the legislature that's going to do some very great things for our citizens to provide more open opportunity for the American dream, and yet the debate on one bill seemed to capture more attention for a month than all these other bills combined. So I do think there was an undue focus on it. It's certainly not things that I'm focusing on, although I think that these values of defending innocent human life are important. It's also important to get people back to work, and that's our key focus here in Virginia.
Did you go out and vote already this morning?
I'm voting in about an hour or so.
Okay, I was just curious of whether or not there's speculation that the turnout won't be so high today.
I think that's probably right. Unfortunately, back to your earlier question, Brian, when you've only got 2 of the 4 candidates, and all the polls indicate Mitt Romney will most likely get a majority, which means he'll get all 49 of Virginia delegates today, that the interest may be down a little bit. And again, I say it's unfortunate. There are going to be some other contested races in Ohio and Georgia, Tennessee, others that probably are going to be in Alaska that'll be a little more competitive. But I think the bottom line is Mitt Romney goes into this Super Tuesday primary with the majority with a lead in the delegates, and he will come out of this tonight with a bigger lead. And I think this will be the beginning of us closing out the nomination process. So Governor Romney can take on President Obama and really have the debate that needs to be had about what kind of country we want to have and what kind of role the federal government should play in everyday life, including getting rid of the debt and deficits and reducing regulations and getting people back to work. I think it's going to be a robust and healthy debate for the American people, and I think Mitt Romney wins.
All right, so this question's coming. If it becomes the nominee is Mitt Romney, and he calls up one Bob McDonnell and says, "I'd like you to be my running mate. Virginia's very important, and I like what you've done over there in the Commonwealth of Virginia." What would be your answer?
I'm going to say, go talk to Brian and Brian. They'd have been the ones talking about it.
No, come on. I mean, it really, if it was put to you that way, what would you think? Would you be interested?
Well, look, I've said for a year, because other people have been talking about it, that any candidate that calls a governor or a senator or anybody and says, "Hey, you could help the team, you could help me win, you could help us govern," of course people are going to be responsive to that. But I'm not looking for it, campaigning for it, or anything else. I got my hands full right here in Virginia. I got to get a budget done, convince my friends in the Senate Democratic Caucus to vote for a budget so we can fund operations. So that's my focus right now. In the meantime, I'll let you all pontificate about what you think about it.
Oh, don't worry, we will.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll do that endlessly. Governor, thank you so much for joining us here on Brian and Brian in the Morning.
All right, go.